Good morning. It is Friday, and as Peter has alluded to, it is Pie Day. You don't know what Pie Day is? It is 314.
Ooh,
Also, like pie, right? So if you ask me
math.
what pi means in
I don't like.
mathematically, I don't,
Yeah,
but I do know what a pi is.
don't
And
like math.
but
That's fun
but
though.
either way, it is Friday the 14th. I'm Jonathan Turner alongside my broadcast partner, Mr. Nathan Wangler, my co-host in crime. And it is Friday. It is episode number 45 here on Inside the Game. We're getting ever closer to half of a century. So by this time next Friday, we'll be at half a century. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. Yes, and it's a good place to be. Not gonna lie, half a century. Wow.
There's just something to be said about a nice, good, warm cup of Joe.
Yeah. And in this situation too, I just like black coffee. Be honest
Oh,
with you.
yeah.
Sometimes I like the stuff that tastes good. But when you talk about morning shows and when you talk about doing stuff, especially in the world of sports where you got to get up super early and get everything ready, I like the stuff that just hits you like a brick, just a freaking brick.
See,
You know,
I don't know if I'm not a big. First off, I've never been a black coffee, person.
that's fair.
Mainly because I just feel like it's okay. So to me, it's just really, really hot water. Yeah, I mean, there's taste to it, but I mean,
Yeah,
there's
but
like
I mean, it
there's
just
nothing that kind of like you get hot chocolate. It's got like that kind of that thickness to it, right? It's got a little bit of that, a little bit of something to kind of give you a buffer between. I mean, there's
yeah,
no buffer in black coffee. It's just
yeah.
I feel like you need a buffer.
But you get
It's not even about the flavor. It's just a buffer.
freaking
I just
wired. You know, you're just you're just ready to run
what are you
through
talking to? And then
whatever
Peter comes in
walls
with
in front of you.
no, Tim Horton. No, Peter.
Yes,
We cannot be friends anymore. Tim Hortons
yes,
is terrible, terrible. But if they
yes.
want to, if they when I say terrible, they're terribly good. If they want to be a sponsor of our show, but I will drink Tim Hortons until
And
the sun comes down, goes up, whatever you want to call it. But hey, I
just
hear
hoping this.
here's
Yeah, yeah. Just hoping this beef with Canada doesn't mean we don't get Tim Hortons anymore. That would be the most
uh,
unfortunate
the
of
crazy
all.
thing is that even with the tariffs, the coffee will only go up about 1 cent.
Okay,
So you know,
okay,
because their
all
coffee
right,
already is only $1. So I mean,
that's fair. Yeah,
it's funny. Like
yeah,
you got Starbucks that charges like $9 for a coffee. Tim Hortons charges like $2 for the exact same thing. It's
yeah. For
one
Starbucks for
one.
this and Tim Hortons for that. So
All right,
yeah,
now he comes to the Big B's. Now Big B's out, but Big B's is good. Big B's is good.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
give you
mind Big
that.
B's.
All right.
Um, but again, to each their own. I don't really care.
Yeah,
To be fair, I don't do Starbucks anymore. I don't do any of them anymore because I just make my own coffee, and it has saved me. I can't tell you how much money. I have more money in the bank now
it's
because I don't
ridiculous.
buy coffee from
Yeah,
Starbucks. But anyways,
yeah.
um, we were you're talking about the MASL game coming up here tonight. We'll talk about that and preview that here tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern on our platform on Roku and on the National Soccer YouTube channel. You know what really grinds my gears? My
Okay.
wife, until I met my wife,
Okay. All
I
right.
had no, my wife's not
It's
was
a good
not
way of
it, but
starting that.
before I met my wife, I had never tried chicken shawarma or Arabic food. Never. Never. I had never tried sushi. I was just I said I grew up in I'm American, right? So I would eat like cheeseburgers and fried chicken and what steak, seafood, Italian. I just wasn't like in my dad was never much into seasonings and he still isn't into seasonings. So a lot of times you get into these other environments, other cultures, they're seasoning the crap out of everything. And be fair, I love Arabic food. I now love sushi. So just make sure I put that in context. But Arabic food comes in your house, man, and it smells amazing, tastes amazing. And I don't know if I really have had a lot of really bad Arabic food, but I'm sure there's probably out there. But the ones that we get come in, chicken shawarma, the fatou salad, right? Shawarma platters, whatever, right? But the leftovers, you put those things in the fridge, man. And then, man, they open the fridge up the next day. Your nose stinks. Like it stinks. I don't know how to solve that problem, Nathan. Like, I don't think there's a way to solve it. Like the other day, we had Arabic brought in through DoorDash, and my wife put some of it leftovers in the fridge here at the studio. I opened up this morning, man. I didn't need coffee. I didn't need anything. If I had just got out of bed, I'd be wide awake after opening that fridge. That's how strong it burned and singed my nostril hairs inside my nose of how strong it was. So it really grinds my gears that I can't enjoy Arabic food to the point where I want to put it in the fridge afterwards, save it for another day, and then when I go to open the fridge up to actually grab that leftover, I immediately want to throw it away because it just burns your nose. It
Yeah.
burns. So I just that's what grinds my gears this morning.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. And I can't relate to a lot of what you just said because I don't live in an area of the country where necessarily Arabic food is as readily available as it is where you are. Now, I will say it is great. It is awesome. I think it's right up there with I used to not look down on, but I was never really the biggest fan of Thai food. But between Thai food and Arabic food over on the east side of the state, where there are some places, some staples, if you will, that's the stuff. Now, I've never had leftovers necessarily, but I will say the aroma itself, especially from a lot of those traditional foods, depending on what culture you're talking about, even the stuff that we sell over here, the traditional Polish sausage, yeah, it's good stuff. But if you keep it in the car for too long, if you keep it in the fridge for too long, you're gonna deal with the same issue. But it's still good. That's the thing. So you're not gonna get rid of it. But I mean, I can't relate simply because I've never held on to Arabic food for that long. But yeah, I mean, all you need is a good whiff in the morning to get you back, and now you're back on your feet. But you combine both that and the coffee too. Happy 45th episode from Peter, Michael Jordan's second take, War 45. That's when he was a wizard. And he's still the best player on the floor, even in
Other
even
players
those
who have donned the number 45. Anthony Davis, Gerald
Okay.
Wallace, Daryl Dawkins,
Eh,
Jim McMillan, David Grayson, Greg Slow,
okay.
Neil Colsey, who
Neil
played
Roll.
1971 to 1970, defensive back, Henry Williams, DB, Mike Spivey, 1979.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay. That's some good
Those were all
polls.
players that played for the Raiders, by the way. I don't know. Thought that was
Ooh,
interesting.
Daryl Dawkins is in there too. All right.
Yeah, Sean Bradley from the NBA. Bo Outlaw.
Yeah.
Great name, by the way, Bo Outlaw. AC Green, former NBA player. Jeff Petrie,
Oh,
two-time
yeah.
All-Star. And
Jeff Petrie.
1971 NBA Rookie of the Year. I mean, so,
All right.
yeah. Thought that was...
So that means we have to live up to the 45 expectation here. We're going to be legendary with this episode.
Well, Michael Jordan wore 23 in for the Chicago White Sox, right? Did he wear 23? Did he wear 45? Or did he wear a completely different number?
What did Jordan wear for the White Sox? He never played for the actual Whites. It was the Birmingham.
He played in spring
era.
training, though. Yeah, he played
Michael
in spring training, though,
Jordan.
didn't he, with the White Sox?
He did. Let's see he was 45 for the Birmingham Barons. Good catch. All right.
Why not 46?
Nice.
Why not 32? Why not, why go 45? What was there a reason behind the 45?
I don't know if there was
it's not
a
like
reason.
half. It's not like half. 23 is not half of 45. It's 22 and a half. So did he just we'll just do what's closest to half?
Well, I mean, there was that whole controversy as to why he was in the NBA. The believed the trusted story is obviously with his dad and what went down with him, and he was killed, and just a gruesome, bad story. And obviously his dream was for him to play baseball. So that I think was the initial reason why he got into it. Now, why he chose the number 45, I have no idea. I'm not sure, but it's always fun to think about what would have happened had he not stepped away from basketball and went to baseball, because I think in that little bit of a gap he left in between three-peat to three-peat, he could have I wouldn't say solidified his spot as the greatest of all time, because there's still a lot of people who believe that in the everything in their being, but he really could have solidified that through that time, because really him leaving was the only reason why the Rockets were able to go and do what they did and win their championships. Like if he was there, that probably would have been a little bit of a different story, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he wore 45. I watched the whole, I don't know if you got the chance to watch the Last Dance, that is documentary.
No.
That's a real good one. That's a real good one right there.
I need to read a lot. Not read. I need to watch a lot more of these type things. I don't get. To be fair, when I watch movies now, because I don't have a lot of time. Like I didn't leave here. So I got here yesterday morning at the studio at 7:00 in the morning, 6:45, and I didn't leave until almost 10:00 last night. So and I did get home. I did watch a TV show with the wife last night. Well, actually, we watched a movie in bed. And a Netflix movie. It's 2 nights in a row we've done that. And I want a movie that doesn't make me I want something that doesn't want to test or challenge my intellect. I'm so far spent when I get to that part of the night that I just kind of want to, want to get through it, And sometimes these movies, these documentaries, you want to pay attention because you want to be able to take something away from it. You know what I mean? So that's at least my perspective on it. We did watch another stupid movie last night, but entertaining stupid. I told you need to watch The Trap. I'm telling you, this movie, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it on Netflix, The Trap. It is so dumb. It is so dumb. And I'm going to, if you're spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you right now what this, I'm just going to tell you. Do you even care? You even care, Nathan? Like they even care that I'm about to tell you?
Break down the spoilers. Yeah.
Let's break it down, man. So the plot is this. This is the plot, okay?
All right.
Serial killer. He's called the Butcher. He's called the Butcher, by the way. Very, very original serial killer name. Okay, Butcher. All right. And so in context, during one of his recent killing scenarios, he leaves a stub of a ticket, which, by the way, doesn't quite make sense, but lays a stub of a ticket to an upcoming concert. Which, the ticket itself doesn't necessarily show where he's sitting or anything like that. It just happens to show. So they know that he's going to a concert, have no idea where he's sitting, no idea who this person is. And so the FBI, along with local police and state authorities, get with the concert, the singer, the talent, and says, hey, we're going to use this as a ruse to catch this guy. So she's in on it. Everybody involved in the event, they're involved in it. And so everyone gets in, and then they lock the whole stadium down, and they surround the whole building with massive amounts of police officers, all looking throughout, searching, trying to find the serial killer, who happens to be there with his daughter, his teenage daughter, who just happens to love this singer. So the serial killer is your typical family man, lives in a suburban America and happens to have a side job that no one knows
typically
about.
Neighbor.
So that in itself, the plot is so whatever. But as the movie's kicking around and going around, it turns into like he starts to find out what's happening. He starts to see this police presence, so he starts to get into we need to get out of here mode. How do we do that? And it's just. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad it's so, even though it's so bad, it's still entertaining because you just can't turn away from it. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, what? Like, really? Like, it's like, it just.
If they used logic in horror movies, we would never watch them. Right? That's the truth. I know.
But like Final Destination, right? Final Destination was so extreme in like how you died. Right.
Yes.
And in your face. But the actual things that actually happened, like legitimate things that would happen. I mean, like legitimate happenstance. Right. I mean, you see them all the time. If you ever seen a video, you'll see this happens a lot over like in other countries, but you'll see a CCTV camera right outside the street.
Yeah.
And you'll see someone walking down the street.
There's a massive tire just bouncing down the road. Like I was for a while after watching that, I was afraid of driving behind people with trailers and stuff attached to those trailers behind them. I really was, because I thought maybe the speedboat would come unattached and decapitate everyone. in my vehicle. Now that's realistic. Now what I'm talking about when you're in the horror movie and they, it's, oh God, what commercial is it? I forget what commercial it is. They poke fun at it, but they come across like they're running away from the serial killer and they find a shed in the woods that has like chainsaws hanging from the ceiling. They're like, great, let's go hide in there. What could possibly go wrong? Shed, chainsaws, all these weapons around. Let's go hide in there. And of course, well, the serial killer guy is in there, right? But like this is the age old pull, right? Like we're watching it with sound logic in our brains, and they clearly are not. And so that makes it, I guess, interesting to watch, but it's also frustrating at the same exact time. Like I know, like that is not the logical thing to do. But I know you have to do it to make the movie go, because we wouldn't have a movie. It'd be a very short movie if they decided to just get back in the car and drive away,
Yeah.
So, just don't take any lessons from it.
It's true. Well, the lesson is that, there's such an inordinate amount. It's hard to even imagine to describe how many police officers in those roles in this movie are so bad at being police officers.
Their job.
They're so bad. Like, you're like, really? Like, I mean, like, just let him go. It's okay. Let him walk free. It's okay. Let him go. Like, he's fine. Right. Yeah, no big deal. But anyways, that was my. You still got to watch the movie because it's so dumb. Anyways, and then last night I watched A Simple Favor with Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. Now, we had never seen that before, though. That's kind of like where Gone Girl meets something. I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Gone Girl?
I have.
It's a good. I like that movie. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. Ben Affleck was good in that, and Rosamund Pike, I think is her name. But anyways, I thought they were good in that. But we watched A Simple Favor last night, and it had this twists and turns, and it was a very interesting movie. Again, dumb, very dumb in its plot, and you're just like, really, like this is But have you seen A Simple Favor?
I have.
Yeah.
That's actually one that I have seen.
Yeah. It just it just
it's lighthearted.
I think you could have done a lot of things with that plot. In that movie, but it just, I just think that they really just weren't as simple as they made it sound, But anyways, so what are we going to talk about here today on Inside the Game? It's 20 minutes into the show. We've talked about nothing like the Seinfeld episodes, but
the show about nothing.
If your first time stopping by, hit that subscribe button, like us, and share this with your friends and family. Don't forget to head over to nationalsoccernetwork.com. Get all your soccer news. You name it, we have it. So check that out. Why not? But what are we going to talk about here today? I kind of alluded to it a little bit yesterday. I talked about this in regards to the high school game, right? And towards the end of the show, talking about how coaches and there's this pressure and there's this whole nuance, to the club soccer environment that, when you are signing a deal, signing an agreement with a club, a team, that a lot of players are just not holding up their end of the deal, right? And then clubs are the ones at the end of it holding up this bag saying, the bad guy, because we're not letting the player go back to the high school environment. Now, there are states like Florida, for example, that they play like their soccer seasons are like in the winter. So like from November to right now, they had their soccer season, and it doesn't really impact the academy on either side or the ASNL. So these kids can play high school, and it's not a big deal. That's the benefit of being in warm environments. You can play these games during that time period.
Right.
But, the discussion has to be about, our honoring commitments. In the transfer portal world that we live in today, in the college environment, there's no loyalty anymore. There's no honoring a commitment. I mean, to be fair, I don't know why letter of intents are even a thing anymore. I don't even know why signing your commitment to the school is even a thing.
A letter of maybe.
I just at this point, nobody is honoring their commitments. Clubs, Clubs are the ones who are saying, hey, we want to field a team, right? Here's what it is. We know that. Colleges are the same thing. But now, if you're a college coach, you know that 30 to 40% of your roster is going to change every year, not because they're graduating, not because, they get hurt. No, they're like literally legitimately leaving you. And they might not be leaving you for better pastures. They might be leaving you just because they don't like you. They might be leaving you because they want to go play at a D3 school and you're a D2 school. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons as to why they're leaving that none of those really make sense. But there's no loyalty. There's no loyalty anymore in sports. And there used to be something to say said about that. I mean, if you're a coach, if I'm a coach, you want to be able to know what you're looking like next year, the year after. You look at your roster and say, okay, here's my seniors, here's my juniors, here's my sophomores. We've got 10 incoming freshmen. I got 8 outgoing seniors. But now you can't do that. And to be fair, once a player says, I'm going in the transfer portal, like the coach can't talk to him anymore. It's not like you can go back to the coach and be like, or the player and be like, hey, I mean, okay, what am I missing here? No, you can't even there's no discussion anymore. It's over. Like you're done. It's like as if HR puts a roadblock up and, you walk you out of your office and that's it. Turn off your cell phone and see you later. And that's the biggest problem. And you're seeing this. The coaches around the country are losing their mind over this shit. They're losing their mind. I just saw a story about a coach. I'm not sure what university it was. I think it's in the ACC. I want to say it was like Creighton or Connecticut, something like that. But he's like, 50% of my roster is already going to be leaving. 50%. He's like, and they all know where they're going already. Which, from my understanding, the transfer portal was set up in a way where schools are not allowed to talk to a player until they've entered into the portal. So how would a player know what school they're going to before they even announce the portal that they're going in the portal and then be someplace else? So somewhere in there's already being discussions taking place that do not involve the portal at all, which is leading to a whole other thing. So I don't understand it. I understood the concept during COVID. I understood the concept with adding a 5th year, a COVID year, for players who are going to get screwed because they couldn't play. High school kids got screwed all across America. They couldn't play their senior year of high school, and you'll never get that back. But they gave college kids a second chance with a longer year, right? And more opportunity to play. But the transfer portal is killing college sports. It is killing it. Now, there's an argument about how it's also helping it. And there is a component of this that it is very helpful. The player out there who probably is not in a good environment, who's looking to leave, right? That player needs to go someplace else. It's better for everybody if they do. But just because you want to transfer to another school because you can make more NIL money, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it on any level. And of course, yeah, you got the high school kid who signed the letter of commitment with a college, and they're now going back to the club and saying, I want to play high school soccer. I have a chance of winning a state championship, so screw you, club. I'm going to do what I want to do. And then the club's like, well, what about your contract? Yeah, whatever. Who cares? It's starting off in the high school. It's starting off there. So, of course, it's not going to work in the collegiate level. I'm curious your thoughts on this. I'm curious people's thoughts on it at home. I'm really curious because I understand that for the longest time, and let's make sure I premise this with this. I understand that in football and basketball, that the NCAA and colleges across America have been able to just make a shit ton of money. I'm well aware of that. I am not. Every other sport are losers in the money game. Let's just make that very clear. Football and basketball on every campus in America rule all. And everything else falls underneath that and is paid for by football and basketball. All right, so we know that already. So I'm not. This is not a debate about whether or not kids or players should or shouldn't be paid for NIL deals. That's not the thing. Great. This is about you make a commitment. You better have a damn good reason to leave. Period. And it's not just like, well, I don't like my coach, so we're going to leave. No, you have to have a reason. They need to change the portal so there should be a valid reason. And it's not just about making more money. It's not just about playing time. There has to be a valid reason. almost like, you have to show us some kind of an extenuating circumstance that gets you into the portal. Like, I just don't get it.
Recruiters, and it doesn't matter. This could be military. This could be sports. This could be recruiters for anything else. They lie. And they make a habit out of lying because they have to in order to get you to go where they want you to go. I had a buddy who joined the Marine Corps. Dad was a Marine, wanted to follow in his footsteps. And he wanted to be a guy that worked with explosives. He wanted to work with some of the not pyrotechnics. I forget what the word is, but there is a military occupational specialty that dictates that you could do this, and you have to score a certain, amount. You have to score a certain test on your ASVAB and your test to get in order to qualify for that, and he did. And there's a thing about military recruiters, and they all tell you, and there's a reason why there's those jokes out about, oh, you're going to get, a car, you're going to get a wife, you're going to get all these other things if you join the military. Well, he gets in, and almost immediately he's a motor T technician, right? He is nothing that the recruiter told him he was going to be. The same applies not just for the military, it also applies for sports. Recruiters, the pressure is on them now because what I know, and I know this from having talked to athletes, I know this from having talked to people that are inside the process, recruiters will lie to your face in order to get you to their school. They will tell you will get X amount of playing time. You'll show up and you won't get that playing time. They'll tell you you're going to play this position, and you show up and you're not playing that position. Oh, and here, better yet, coming up next year, we recruited a guy who's going to take your spot. Oh, and by the way, he's half your age. Recruiters, all shapes, all sizes. They can be white, black, or magenta. They're going to lie to you. A lot of them will. Okay, not all of them. So when you get there, and now you find out, okay, I was promised one thing just to get me on campus, but now I'm redshirted. And now I'm not playing the next year. And it might not be because you're not putting the effort in. You're just simply not seeing exactly what was told to you is coming to light. And that happens a lot. So what the transfer portal has done, again, for better or for worse, it has done one thing, and that is force accountability for coaches and for recruiters. You better hold up your end of the bargain or you will lose this person. Okay? Yes, 30 to 40%. Now, is it because they came in with the expectation of I'm not going to play? No. I don't know a recruiter in my life that has ever gone to someone and said, you're going to come here and sit for 2-3 years. I never once in my life have I ever met a recruiter who's ever said a certain thing like that. Now, it might work out that way. And I'm not blaming the coach for maybe moving pieces around or noticing that he doesn't fit the scheme. That's fine. But the transfer portal has removed your ability to just go, oh, well, sorry. I mean, you can transfer out. You'll lose a year of eligibility, and then you'll be so far down the line that it won't even matter anymore. Okay, so that puts more power back in the hands of student athletes. That's in my mind, right? If we're talking about, because I know you're talking about the negative right here, and you're speaking from a coach perspective. And I get that because you're a coach. And so you talk to other coaches and you understand that language. And when you're losing half of your team, it is next to impossible, especially for programs, again, who are struggling to put together good products, to hold on to players for very long. It just simply doesn't happen. But in a lot of ways, what the transfer portal did, it didn't put the pressure on the student athletes, right? Because their options are plentiful now. They can go wherever they want. And I'm not here to say that there aren't examples of kids who really don't need to go anywhere, but they think the grass is greener on the other side. Maybe the parents aren't perfectly content with where they are, so therefore they end up leaving. There are examples of that, but just as many examples of those, that 30 to 40% that you just showed on the screen, are ones that were promised one thing and did not get it on the other end. And I mean promise. I don't mean suggested, oh, you might play. No, they were promised these things, and it doesn't come true. So that's the one thing. The other thing that I'll say, and this is very quick, I think it gives kids from lower levels an opportunity to rise the ranks. Grace College is a team that we play in the NAIA every year. 2 kids, both went to Colorado, both have an opportunity to go to the big dance this year. Wide receiver from Hillsdale transferred to Iowa, right? And he's been playing good minutes and he's been having a lot of success. A lineman who used to be a golfer at Cornerstone starts at Purdue his final year because he, finds out, oh, I'm pretty talented at this size-wise. I can build myself up to a certain potential to play well. It gives kids at smaller schools an opportunity. But to circle back on my initial point, I don't buy for a second. And I don't like the fact that none of this pressure in the transfer portal is put on the shoulders of the recruiters, and none of the pressure is put on the shoulders of the coaches. You made promises. You didn't keep those promises. I'm sorry. You lose out on that student athlete. This is how it goes. And I'm all for more power being in the hands of the ones who are playing the sport, because you are asking them to dedicate their lives. By the way, this is a job. When you play sports in college, it is 24/7. They wake up at 6 a.m., they do their lifts, they go to classes, they practice at night, they do film review, and they repeat that same process over the next day. Yeah, if I was told I'm going to play and being a significant part of the team, and now I find myself watching everybody else and not getting that opportunity, maybe for reasons beyond my control, yes, my promises were not fulfilled. Now in the military, you can't just transfer out and be like, I'm done, right? You have to fulfill your contract. It doesn't matter if the recruiter blatantly lied to you and then threw you in as a motor T technician and you're making, I don't know, whatever dirt amount they're making per hour. You can't do that. In jobs in real life, I can't, get recruited by someone to go do a job and then just up and leave the next day. I can, but I'm not going to have another job. And it takes a long time to find a backup. Like, I was trying to find this job for years and years and years so that I could leave the job that I hated. But it took me 2 years of working the job I hated in order to finally have an opportunity to move on. Sports is a different story. So I want to see some of the pressure fall on the shoulders of recruiters and coaches. I do.
We're talking about soccer right now for a second. We're not talking about football and basketball. We're talking about soccer.
Oh, I was just talking about sports in general.
No, I know.
Yes.
But if we go to soccer specifically, and even in basketball, smaller schools like Oakland, it's an assistant coach who's traveling. Okay.
Right.
I can't speak to what's being promised. Obviously, we're not involved in those conversations. I couldn't tell you, right? But coaches put players on field to give them chances to win. Can we agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're not playing significantly, you're not good enough. I'd argue you're not good enough. I'd argue that, your time hasn't come yet. It used to be where a freshman would come in, they'd be redshirted in most cases, right? Gives you another year of eligibility. You have a chance to play and practice, even get in a game or two during those redshirt years. And then, you work your way into a lineup. You worked your way into a lineup. That's how that works. And it takes some time for you to get there. But we don't live in a society where people want to wait, where they want to be patient. I want it now. I need it right now. I want it right now. There's no patience. I can tell you this right now, that the kids that are transferring over playing time are pissed off because everywhere else they played, they started. Nate, they were starters everywhere else. They're not starters anymore. Why? Because everybody else, they're probably a superstar on their team. Now they're not. Now they're amongst other superstars. And they can't handle the fact, I'm not saying all of them. You and I both know there's always there's always an anomaly. There's always there's a percentage here where players, let's just say 10% of them, hey, there's a real gripe. The coach doesn't like them. There's not, but playing time is a byproduct of just people and their personalities. But I would argue that the 20 to 25% of these players that are transferring to playing time are transferring because they can't handle being number 2. They can't handle being number 3. They need to be number 1. They cannot wait to earn the opportunity to get on the field and be in that place like I did as a freshman in high school. I was the best goalkeeper in my age group in high school. Best goalkeeper. I come in and there are 2 goalkeepers ahead of me that are juniors. So I know that my chances of starting, 0. I didn't play on the varsity level until I was a senior starting. I started all my senior games. Had I been in any other high school in the state, I would have probably been a starter as a freshman. But on that team, I was 3rd string goalkeeper. I had to eat that up. Now, in 2025, with the way the world is, would I have waited 4 years, 3 years? Probably not. I probably said, Mom and Dad, I can't do this. I need my time is now. I need to go. I'd be playing someplace else. Maybe I don't. I don't know. I can't speak, but I'm if I'm the player in me, you know?
Yeah. No, and
Peter,
there's that
playing
side
time.
too.
No,
Yeah.
there's a playing guys, playing time is irrelevant. A college coach's job is to win soccer games. It doesn't matter how
It's not
he does it.
irrelevant if you're promised it, though.
Well, no, but again, I can't speak to what's being promised. I can't. Again, we could talk 10 years ago, but right now, players are coming into programs. They're coming in again. First off, a lot of the incoming freshmen, are not getting opportunities like they used to because of the transfer portal. Well, again, why would a college coach go looking for? Why would a college coach go look for an unproven freshman when he has a sophomore coming in from the portal? But my biggest challenge would be, well, again, I'll use a local player here. Local player here went to Michigan State, played there for a couple of years. New head coach comes in, transfers out, goes to another college down in Texas, works there for 1 year, comes back here and finishes it up at Detroit Mercy. Went to 3 different schools over her career. 3 schools. In soccer specifically, I'm going to argue that the player who's transferring is transferring for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do. I mean, there's playing time issues, but it's because they don't have the ability to play at that level on that team. They were selected, and they knew going into it they're probably 18th, 19th on the roster. You know what I mean?
Really?
And they wanted to be on.
Do you really think that
Oh,
expectation was set by recruiters?
I'm telling you, first off, you don't know what you're going to get when you get a player. First off, you can promise the world to them, and if they show up on training days and they're not in shape, they're not
Why
running.
recruit them?
What,
if you don't know what they can offer you, what are you doing in recruiting?
Oh, you're telling me, Nathan, again, I'm not thinking about football. I'm talking about soccer.
It's soccer, yeah.
And soccer, I can tell you this right now. You can do all the research on God's green earth. And when they show up on campus and are competing and they now have this whole new world that they're a part of, you have no idea how they're going to respond.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
You're right. Nathan, I could promise you, and think about this. How many quarterbacks that we see in college football that are like, oh my God, 5 stars, and they're terrible. They're terrible. They don't work out. First round picks that just end up being shitty. And it has nothing to do with how much talent they have. Somewhere along the lines, the psychological aspect of this game got into them and they couldn't compete. And this is so coaches. So I'm going to go here. Steve Beskop and tell kids you don't understand that you must earn your playing time and sometimes have to wait for opportunity. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Steve Besk. Down to a T. It is an entitlement. I don't disagree with you.
What was his other comment? I'm curious.
Coaches promise the world to get the kids to school. They don't have to honor any of that. All they care about is winning.
They don't have to honor any of that. See that?
No, they don't have to. So here's the thing. I think when it comes to this specific conversation about coaches and winning and recruitment, guys, it goes both ways. And the college kid, the college kid is coming in and saying, oh my God, look at my video that I made for you. It's 3 minutes long, and here's all my plays, the best plays. There's no the red card that they got for going and spikes up into someone's chest. They don't put the bad shit in there. Mom and dad are, we're sitting there training our kids on how to talk and interview and think about this. Job interviews, think about first dates. What are you telling on your first date to a girl to get them to go on a second date with you? Vice versa. We are all trying to sell people on the good stuff, not the bad stuff. A college coach's job is to bring in the highest level talent he possibly can for the least amount of money. I really mean that, for the least amount of money. Just like my job and my role as a director of broadcasting and president of this company is bringing the best talent for the least amount of money. I'm not saying I don't want to pay the most money. I'm just saying that if I can get the highest talent at the lowest dollar amount, isn't that a win? It's a win for the bottom line. Now, does that mean I have to pay more money? Of course it does.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the perspective that I have on that is that we're all trying to sell. Someone's buying.
Right.
We're all selling. So the student athlete is selling the coach on why I should come to your school. The coach is selling the student athlete on why they should pick this school. And when they both get there, they're like, oh, well, you sold me on this is a shitty bag of goods. Yeah, probably is. Should probably ask more questions. You probably should have taken me on some more dates before you realized I was a serial killer called the Butcher.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm sorry, but it goes both ways.
It does.
Oh my God, I'm
so
that
brings us back to why you can't say one way or the other conclusively it's good or bad. You can't. You simply cannot. It's almost like when people are like, well, things are worse today than what they were 20 years ago. You can't say that.
What's worse?
They're different. What's that?
When you say what's worse?
No, I'm just saying people in general are like, well, things are worse now than what they were 20 years ago. You can't say that. You can't say that. It's different. It's different.
Yeah, I don't know if the word worse is the right word to describe it. We're in a new world, and in a new world, things have changed, evolved. We know this. Again, the player today is not willing to wait. Period.
Right.
The player today is not willing to wait.
I don't think you can just chalk it down to just simply a sense of entitlement with players, too. Like, we are taking all of the blame, any of the pressure off of the shoulders of coaches and recruiters. We are taking all of that off of their shoulders. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that all athletes aren't willing to wait. What's that?
You walk into a car dealership, you know that you're about to be bombarded by salespeople. You walk into a furniture store in America, you know you're going to be bombarded. You know that you're going to get hit with something, and it might not be fair. You know that. You're telling me these people don't know that college coaches are coming at them for the win? I mean, this is a big money business.
And an opportunity in sports are two different things. JT,
the outcome is the same.
Now.
The outcome is the same.
I understand that, but there's a difference between a guy selling me a car and a guy promising me a future in sports. And that those are two separate things. And also promising that future with the understanding that it might not happen because of the team that we have and the guys that we have coming in. But you want that body there.
Yeah, but
right?
we make this comment as though, okay, if I look at this from the standpoint of there are obviously superior athletes out there that will sit there on signing day with 7 hats on the table, just kidding, right? No, just kidding. This is the right hat. I'm going here, woohoo! And the whole college won. Right? Oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world, right? I'm sorry. These players have way more decision-making process than the college does. They have chosen to go there. The college athlete has chosen to go there. But they're not choosing to go there anymore as a final destination. They're choosing to go there as a pass-through. And that's the difference. It's a difference. Again, the portal is great in concept. And conceptually, it's a good idea because it does give the player who was promised something that they did everything they possibly could to then leave that school and go someplace where they can do their career and finish out their collegiate their athletics. But no, right now the portal has been created as a pass-through. It is not a thing.
It can be.
I'm the college athlete today. Yeah, okay. The coach didn't promise me that I get some playing time. Okay. And at the time that they were recruiting me, there might have been 3 other players that they were considering, and those other players hadn't committed yet. And now they have, and now we're all coming at the same time. I got 2 center backs, and they're all great. And let's see what happens. And when you show up on campus, you're saying, hey, coach, and the good coaches will say, hey, you guys are fighting for a spot. Go get it. It's yours to win. Right? And then the one that rises to the top, what ends up happening? They get it, and then the player below them goes, I got screwed. I'm out. Pissed off. That wasn't what I was promised. Nathan, I don't disagree with you. I don't think that coaches should be off the hook. I'm not saying that. But if we look at how this works, we're seeing it at the high school level, club level, where players are backing out of agreements because they want to go do something that they want to do. Right? They want to go do this.
Yeah.
It's starting off there. And parents are like, well, yeah, why are you stopping my kid from doing this? Well, because you signed an agreement. You signed up for this. You know you
Yep.
shouldn't have signed. You shouldn't have agreed to this.
Right.
Okay. And then they go to college. And the same thing happens again. The coaches should never be off the hook, ever. And coaches across America should do way better. But again, the coaches are being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, $80,000, $100,000 a year. Right? They're getting paid money to win soccer games. Just like a varsity coach is paid to win soccer games. They're not paid to lose. And if you don't win at the high school level, eventually they're going to fire you. You don't win at the college level, they're going to fire you. That's how that works. And in some cases, they'll fire you even if you do win.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's the job of the coach. The job of the coach is to win soccer games. That's their job. And if you don't know that when you're signing on the dotted line, and realize that if you don't do your job, if you don't do your part, if you don't step up physically, mentally, psychologically, athletically, whatever, and you don't rise to the occasion like they're expecting you to do, then yeah, you're not going to play. And if you've done all those things and you're still not playing, then you must be in a really good freaking team. You must be in a really good freaking team. Because I don't know a single coach on planet Earth that wants to win soccer games that's going to put their the best player on the bench forever. Even if they're a shitty attitude, they're still going to play. You're not going to bench your best player.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. So again, it comes down to, and these are the players we're talking about. We're talking about players who are like 12, 13 through 17 on a roster. We're not talking about 18, 19, and 20 because 18, 19, and 20 know who they are, know what they're capable of, and know that by just transferring, they probably won't. It won't really change for them. It's like 11, like 12 through 15, 12 through 16 on a roster. That's who's transferring. On a basketball team, it's like 6, 7, 8, right? Those are the players. And granted, if you look at the mid-level, mid-majors, a player who's 1 or 2 on a team in the mid-majors who's like player of the year, they're going to go to the ACC. They're going to go to a Power 5 school. They're going to get big NIL deals. That's not a playing time thing. That's a straight-up money thing. You know what I mean?
An opportunity.
It's funny. Steve Besk, Gino Reyna benched, but we won't get it. Gio Reyna was benched. I would argue at that time that Gio Reyna was not one of the best players. A very good player. But you could argue again how talented a player might be and how they are in their experience and how they handle situations as a youth player and that youth mindset. He's still a young man. And his biggest challenge, I believe, is not so much his talent. It's his inability to understand the game from a youth perspective, his perspective as a youth. I don't know, I'm spitting here like crazy. It's a youth aspect. He's young, doing dumb stuff. So there are moments where coaches will do those things in order to get more out of a player. But I don't see Gio Reyna ever being benched for an entire, long period of time. But also, the U.S. men's national team is a completely different dynamic than collegiate athletics. It's different. The level of player coming in, it's different. Yeah. I would compare it to like North Carolina in the girls' side. I would compare it to like a Santa Cruz, right, where you have the best of the best coming in. I mean, look at this. We had Olivia Thompson is what it was. She played for Flint City AFC a couple years ago. She went to Grosse Pointe, University of Woods Liggett. And she's at University of North Carolina now. They won their national championship, and she scored the game-winning goal. This is a player that was unbelievable player. Unbelievable player. She was told by Ans Dorrance 2 years ago to stop playing high school soccer and only focus on playing for Flint City AFC. Her team was number 1 in the state at the time. In high school, number 1. And had she stayed on that team, they would have won a state championship. But they told her to stop playing. So she skipped the playoffs. Her team lost. And she went on to play. Now, you're sitting there as your player in the high school program, knowing that you're like the best player on your team. There's the best player on your team, and she's leaving you. Imagine how that would deflate your entire team. But that's what that college coach did and said, please stop playing. We don't want you getting hurt. And they would say, go focus on playing in Flint City, AFC, go play in the pre-professional league in the USLW. And she did that until she left for North Carolina. And I don't believe that she got a ton of minutes her freshman year. I'd have to look back at her. I don't know, maybe Steve might know better than me, but I don't believe she got a ton of time her freshman year. But man, I'll tell you, this year she had a fantastic year. And you don't know, Nate, you don't know how players are going to perform.
Yeah.
You can promise, the Bryce Underwood, the guy here in Michigan, the quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he's being recruited. I mean, a superstar player who's done a lot of great things for Belleville and blah, blah, blah. Will he be a winning quarterback in college? Don't know. It's a toss-up. He was just guaranteed a whole bunch of money. $10 million, whatever it was, some crazy number, right?
It was 12 or something. Yeah, somewhere
Yeah,
in there.
What's gonna? I mean, highly recruited, promises made, and he was like, "Hey, I'm only going someplace where I'm playing." Right?
Mhm.
I mean, he promised playing time. Right? My guess is that's what he's promised. Otherwise, why would you go to a school, take $10 million, $12 million, and not
12 million, and
Yeah.
according to whatever LSU was offering him is steep in comparison to what they were offering. So I
Well,
think
yeah.
a
So,
lot of that
but
may come into it, but
he's been given
right,
this money, and so I'm
right,
interested to see how he plays out, because I don't know if he's going to be the great quarterback that he was
right,
in high school.
right.
Again, the level of play is completely different.
Yeah.
But again, when we talk about soccer, and I'll end this point here, I think it's important to say that the coaches should definitely not be off the hook. They shouldn't be. But it isn't the coach presents an offer to the players. Here's your offer. And this is why I say it's like car sales land. Here's the offer. Here's what we're offering you. Here's what we promised you. If you want it, sign it. If you don't, then don't.
How many hidden fees are in there?
How many?
How many things are you trying
paying?
to get them on that they don't know about?
No, I mean, do we not? And this is why my thing is that
I agree. They sign on the dotted line.
Agreement. It's not like I'm dragging you out of your high school and saying, come play,
That's
and we're gonna
fair.
pull you in,
Right.
And
That's
again,
fair.
I don't know how much parents are involved in this, but maybe parents are like, oh my God, my kid gets a scholarship. It's like, woo!
Yeah.
We've been working so hard for this, and here it
Yeah.
is. And
And maybe that's the only one they got. And that if we're talking about the kids that are further down the depth chart, that's the other thing. Maybe that's the only one they got. And so now they get to college, and now they see those options open up. The last thing I'll lead with here, the power dynamics are shifting, and that's what makes everyone so uncomfortable. There used to be this just unquestioned loyalty to authority that if you were to land in a program, well, you should just feel privileged to be there. You're going to college, you're going to get a degree, you get to play sports. If you're not playing right now, too bad. Work harder, you'll get an opportunity on down the line. To anyone who's actually been inside of a locker room, that's not the case. That's not the case. Politics plays the biggest role. It even sometimes in the programs where it doesn't seem like it does, believe me, it does. And even in the game of soccer. And so I will always be, until the end of time, right? Once we started seeing all this stuff change and everyone started having issues with it, especially the money side, they're going to college for free. Why do we have to be giving them all this money? Well, I don't know. Jerry, maybe they came from Camden, New Jersey, and they could afford the extra money. What does it matter to you? Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, I will always be in favor of players having the choice. You expect as much as you do out of them. You expect them to sideline a lot of other things they could be doing with that time that they're going to lift, with that time they're going to watch film, with that time they're doing all of this other stuff. And again, I'm not saying all of them do. And much like salesmen, JT, there are some that are honorable. There are some that tell you what it is that you're getting to, and they try to set you up with the best stuff. But like salesmen and realtors and all these other people, there are some slime balls who are very, very good at getting you to come to their program. And kind of like an Ohio State in a sport like football or whatever else, sometimes you have the amount of riches that you don't know what to do with. And so that lends itself to kids are going to leave. But I am always going to be in favor of the players having the ultimate choice. Because I know and I know these stories because I've been told these stories of coaches who have single-handedly at the college level ruined the sports experience for no reason, not just playing time, politics, barriers, maybe personality issues that don't mesh as well, certain things that you can't find out until you are in a room with someone. You said it yourself. You can do all the recruiting, all the stats, you can watch all the video that you want, but until that person is in that room, you really don't know. You don't know what exactly it is that you're getting out of them. Now, like anything else, have people taken advantage of it? Yes. And I do think the transfer portal didn't necessarily fix anything, much like NIL didn't fix anything. It kind of took what was already starting to happen that was illegal, maybe at the time, or with transferring, again, you lost a year of eligibility. You couldn't just play right away. And it just made it legal and made it okay. And so the way we've gone about opening this option up to players is not necessarily the best way we could have gone about it. And it's led to these issues. And I'm calling them issues. Like they're not, this isn't a fun thing. And even for the players who have been treated well, I'm talking about, we're talking about the ones further down the depth chart, but yeah, you think about the ones who have succeeded. The ones who have been developed by that program, the ones who have been taken care of by that program. Oh, all of a sudden you want to leave? You still think the grass is greener after everything we did to put you in a position to where you're in now to play good minutes and to get all these recognitions. You still think the grass is greener on the other side. Well, then fine, go find it. I will admit that stuff happens, and I get the frustration because it's tough for any of these programs, especially if you're in the doldrums, JT. Building a program has now become, in a lot of ways, next to impossible. You think about some of the older coaches who have gone to these little programs who have built them up to a power. They did it because they recruited, they kept those guys around or girls around, and then they were able to build from the bottom up. A lot of that is, again, next to impossible to do now, especially at the lower levels, because you're dealing with the transfer portal on the other end. But you said it earlier in the show, it's neither good nor bad. It's just very, very, very different. And like any sort of thing like it, people are going to take advantage of it, and we see that. But I want personally, and it's the reason why we've been so passionately talking about this for the last hour. I just want to make sure that that pressure, that burden is felt by everybody involved in the process. Recruiters, coaches, players, everybody plays a part in why this system has got so out of whack over the years. And I know it's easier for us to say because, believe me, I mean, these younger kids, some of them, there is a sense of entitlement. There is this, I need it now, and mom and dad are going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that happens. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I think the pressure should be understood that it's on all fronts. It's not just on one group. It's not just on the student athletes and a sense of entitlement. It's on everybody. And so is it a good system for college sports? I don't know. People have various opinions, but it's messy. I will give you that. It is messy out here.
It's a great conversation. And I think that, having more of these conversations is good for the game. I think that the blame can go around everywhere. I don't want to, I know we can talk about NCAA and NAIA and all JUCOs and coaches and colleges and administrators and parents and no, the blame can go everywhere. It can go everywhere, and to be fair, equally. But I firmly believe that we have created this perfect storm for players to take an easy road, to take the easy road. And the easy road is one in which you ignore, you distance, you transfer.
Yeah.
That's the road now. And we created it. Can we come back from it? I don't know. It's the same reason why players don't want to wait as a sophomore to play in a starting role on a varsity soccer team or a basketball team or whatever. Nobody has the patience to learn and grow. If you're a player coming out of the collegiate world going into the professional ranks, what's going to happen? You think you're going to have immediate time? In most cases, not. Most of your draftees, your drafts players coming out into the NFL are not starters right away. They have to wait their turn a little bit. Now, depending on how they're drafted, we've seen number one quarterbacks sitting on a bench for 2-3 years, right? We've seen that. We need to get in this mentality where it's okay to wait, to learn, to gain experience and training and practice and building up a level of comfortability and confidence so that when you get out there, you're ready to go. And that is something that I think we take for granted in our new world in college athletics. But that is a wrap here on our Friday, episode 45 in the books. Tip of the hat here to Michael Jordan, right? Tip of the hat to Michael Jordan.
MJ.
MJ, I want to thank everyone for tuning in here today on this Friday. I want to thank you on Pie Day. Don't forget to go get some pie. Sugar-free pie for those of you who have diabetes, but sugar-free pie nonetheless. But either way, have a great rest of your Friday. Big games here tonight. MASL action here tonight. We've got our League of Clubs kicking off here tomorrow night. 3 games in Northern California. MASL games, and then American Premier Soccer League games kicking off here on Sunday. So big, busy week of schedule of games here on the platform. So tune into that on YouTube and on Roku. But from all of us here at Inside the Game, I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler. Have a great Friday, an even better weekend, and we'll see you next time right here on the National Soccer Network. This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.